Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator. For the past few days, I'm actually trying to do a series of videos for the Airbus A320 Neo, which is the default plane for the Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I'm just trying to pick topics of interest, and I'm trying to do videos in different sections regarding different topics, and I'm just uploading them to my channel. So it's better to have different videos rather than putting all the information in one video, because then it gets very difficult to find the specific information that you are looking for. For example, if you just only want to see a video how to program the MCDU, then that video is there. And what about the lights and the ILS approach and descent, everything. So I'm just trying to break everything into different videos and trying to bring it to you guys. So this video is focused on starting the plane from the cold and dark state. So let's begin with this video, and let's show you that how you can start the Airbus A320 from the cold and dark state. Right now I'm parked at Jinnah International Airport, which is in Karachi, and I will be doing a flight from Karachi to Dubai. It's going to be a 2 hours flight, so I will also break this down into different parts, which will be available on my channel. The links you can see in the description. Before I start the plane, just let me tell you one very basic thing which took me some time to understand. Any airplane, specifically the jet planes, have got three sources of power. One is the batteries, which is the switches over here. If you go into the upper panel, you can see these two switches. This is for the battery. So once the plane is in the cold and dark state, you cannot obviously interact with any of the systems. You cannot have radio communication. So in order to just start the plane, first of all, you have to turn on the batteries. So once you have the batteries, the basic communication system is running, and then from there on, you can call the external power. As you can see over here, it's already saying external power available. This is what I'll explain it to you in this video. So then you have to connect the external power with the GPU van, which is a ground power unit. So till the time plane is on the ground and the baggage is getting loaded, the catering services are getting done, and plus the passengers are boarding, the plane is on the ground power unit. And once everything is done, all the ground services are completed, and the plane is ready for the pushback, then you have to start the APU, which is the auxiliary power unit. It's a generator inside the plane which gives power to the plane once the GPU is disconnected. So the APU will give you the power, and after the pushback you will start the engines, and then the power to the plane will be given by the engines. As you can see, these two switches over here. So once you start them, then the power will be given to the plane by the engines. So then you turn off the GPU. So it's batteries, GPU, APU. I said GPU, it's APU. So it's batteries, then your GPU, the external power, then APU, then engines. And every time when you have a second source of power, you turn off the previous source, except for the batteries. So this was a basic thing. This is the upper panel, this is the forward upper panel, this is the aft upper panel, this is the pedestal, and this is the mode control panel, MCP. So the flight controls are over here. And this is known as the primary flight display. This is known as the navigation display, the ECAM display, which shows you the engine and the fuel and everything. So during the flights, I will be also referring to all these screens and will be showing you how to use the information given over here. So let's start this plane from the cold and dark state, and let's see what happens. So now the plane is up, and we have some initial power. You can see all the screens are up and everything is coming. As a normal procedure, the ground power unit is not connected to the plane. Let's go out and see if the ground power van is available. As you can see, GPU is available. This van is available, but it is not connected to the plane. But still you can see external power available. Just to add some nice flavor to it and just to add some realism to this simulation, let's go to the ground services, and let's call for the power supply.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send a ground power unit?
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, a ground power unit is on the road.
As you can see, the ground power van is now moving and it's trying to connect itself to the plane. It takes some time, I think. Oh, now it is connected. As you can see, there is a connection to the plane. So now the power is given to the plane by the GPU van. So let's get inside the cockpit, and then I can turn on the external power. As after getting it connected to the plane, the GPU van, you will have external power available to you. Now simply press this button and the external power will be available. As you can see, the air conditioning and all the systems getting up. As you can, I think, hear the sounds in the background. Yes, I've actually kept the volume low of the system so that I can also be audible. Otherwise, you will not be able to hear me. So now we have the power to the plane, and everything is good. Now it's time to program the MCDU, which is the multifunction control and display unit. It actually interacts with the flight management and guidance system, which is FMGS. So we have to configure the flight management and guidance system. But before we do this, we have to do the fuel calculation and the luggage calculation. So let's go and let's see how much fuel and weight we can carry. The fuel required for this flight will be 7 tons. That will be 7,000 kgs. I'm actually using same brief from the flight planning. If you go to the first part of this video of this tutorial series, you will see that how you can configure the MCDU. So now I'm not going to get into those basics, but I will just do a quick configuration of the MCDU, and then we will move forward. So the fuel will be 7,000, and I can adjust it to 7,000. 7,020 is good. And now I can also increase the payload till the time I get this error CG out of limit. This thing comes. If you reduce it, once this error is gone, then your payload is there. So the empty weight of the plane, which is the only weight of the plane, is 41,000 kgs. Fuel, I'm carrying 7,000 or 7 tons, and payload is 16,000, which is 6 tons. And the maximum is given over here, 21,000, 30,000. So 64,000 weight is the weight of the plane, and 79,000 is the maximum. I cannot go up to the maximum. Maybe with some fuel adjustments and weight adjustments we can do it, but still this is a good calculation. So once you have done the fuel and payload calculation, simply call for the fuel services. Oh, the fuel is not here. Anyhow, we can call the baggage.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send the baggage?
You can see the fuel is already there, so you don't have to worry about the fuel services, whether it's available or not. Okay, so there was some crosstalk. Okay, now I can call for the catering service.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send the catering truck?
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. The catering truck is on the road.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. The jetway is going to be connected.
So you can see that the luggage will be loaded in the plane. The jetway is getting connected, and this is a good side, the jetway getting connected once you land, because after such a long flight, once the jetway is connected, you get this feeling you simply have to get off the plane. I get really excited when I get back home. So that's it. Now the jetway will be connected, so I can just jump in the plane, and you can hear this error coming because the door is open. So you can just ignore this error by pressing this button, master caution, and now the jetway is also connected to the plane. That's it. Now it's time to configure the MCDU, as now the luggage and the passengers will be loaded in the plane. You can see it's not that bright right now, but you can increase the brightness of the MCDU by clicking this button, and that's it. First of all, you have to start with the initialization. So initialization, simply start with OPKC, which is Karachi /OMDB. This error comes before as well, but now, second try it works. Cost index will be 15. As I told you before, this is already covered in the previous video which I have done for this series, so you can just go and watch that what is the cost index. So once I have the fuel, then it's time to actually get the flight plan in. But before this, I have to get the clearance. So let's get back to the clearance to see which runway I will be using to take off.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray tree 20 ready to copy IFR clearance to Dubai.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray tree 20 is cleared to Dubai Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 25 left, climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Departure frequency is 126.5 squawk 2576.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray tree 20 cleared to Dubai Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 25 left, climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Departure on 126.5 squawk 2576.
Airbus tree 20 readback correct. Contact ground on 123.0. Good day.
Now I have got the IFR clearance, and with this I will also turn this option off because I've turned it on to AI radio communication ATC. So I will turn it off because the moment I will turn on the APU, it will call for the pushback. So I don't want this to happen. So that's why I've kept this option off, but you can keep it on, whatever you want to do. But it's better to keep it off because then it's easy for you during the startup. Okay. Now as I've got the clearance for the runway, so I know the plane will be taking off from 25 left. So therefore I will be selecting the SID, which is the standard instrument departure accordingly. So as I'm flying out of the runway 25 left, so for 25 left, the SID is Melo 1G, insert, and that's it. And after Malum, we have another waypoint. Let's quickly do it. And top door is there, and then pass off. This is another waypoint. Yes, and Vivek. So everything is there now. Now for the arrival, runway and star. So runway 12 right, but I will change it as per the clearance that I will get as soon as I'm near the runway. And MP3E will be my star, and redirect will be wires and insert. And let's check for any flight discontinuity. If it's there, I will delete it, otherwise we will just keep it like this. That's good. Flight plan done. Now it's time for initialization B page. You have to go to initialization, then press this button and see all the information is coming. The zero fuel weight is coming, the zero fuel weight center of gravity. It is as per the information over here. You can see zero fuel weight is actually empty weight of the plane plus payload. So it's coming, and the zero fuel weight center of gravity is also there, which is this one, 16.2, and you can see the fuel is there. And the last thing is the performance. Simply have to enter the information for the flaps. You can ignore this trim pitch because there is a performance calculator available, and there is a video on my channel in which I've covered the performance calculation, which is very subjective depending upon the airframe, the runway and the airport and everything. So there are so many things that are involved in calculating and the takeoff performance. But just for this video, I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm not getting into those details. Flaps you can set it to 1, but still if you want to get more information about the takeoff performance, there are videos on my channel which you can just go and watch. And for the V1, you can simply click and you will get V1, VR and V2. So that's it. Now the initialization done, flight plan done, initialization B done, and performance, it's done. So everything is now okay, and that's it. The initial altitude that I've been given clearance to climb is 10,000, so I will just keep 10,000 over here. Make sure that the flight directors are on the both sides. They're actually combined, so if you turn on this option, this will be also active, and that's it. Now as the CDU I was about to say MCP so now as the MCDU is ready, it's time to turn on the lights. Let's get the strobe set to auto. Let's turn on the beacon because we're going to start the engine, and nav and logo, let's turn it on, and let's start the APU. Just first of all turn on this switch, the master switch, and wait for 3-4 seconds and then start the APU. In the Phoenix Airbus A320 and any Airbus A320, once you start the APU, this information starts coming over here, and you can see the condition of your APU, whether it's available or not, and you can do it by clicking a button over here, but unfortunately only engine and fuel works over here, and rest of the buttons, they are not working. So that's why once touch is setting the pitch for the trim, you have to actually go to FCTL, flight control, and then you have to actually set the trim. So that's why even I ignore this thing, because in this plane you cannot select this option. Anyhow, and now as you can see, the APU is now available. I can turn on the APU bleed, which will be actually required to turn on the engines. As you can see, there is some air flowing into the system as the APU bleed is now on, and that's why you can hear all this extra sound. So it was easy. Starting up this plane is easy. It's not that difficult. Okay, anything else that I'm leaving? No. So everything is looking good so far. With this, I can disconnect the external power, because right now I'm just going for a pushback. So we can just disconnect the external power, and if I go to the ground, Jetway disconnection, yes.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please disconnect the jetway from the aircraft?
So the jetway will be also getting disconnected. Yes, it is getting disconnected, and you can see the power supply is already disconnected because I just disconnected it from here. So this thing happens. Okay, and now this is all done. With this, I will just turn on the fuel pumps, because if you don't turn on the fuel pumps, your engines will not start. Just make sure before the startup that after the startup, not before the startup, that everything is black. So if you see everything black, it means all the switches are on and everything is good. But if there is any light over here on this panel, it means there's something wrong. Likewise, this is a good option that you can see these lights. So you can see the APU is running, and the master switch is also up, but rest of the things you can see they're running. As soon as I turn on the fuel pumps, they all went black. So this is a good indication. As the cruise supply over here, Phoenix Airbus A320, you have to, and plus I think also in the fly-by-wire Airbus A320, you also have to turn it on, otherwise it says off. So it says off, and once I will start the engines, this option will also disappear, the fault option. So everything is good now. We have the power from the APU, and everything is looking good so far. So what I can do is this: I can request for the pushback, and let's go back and request for the pushback.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 requesting pushback.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 pushback request accepted.
And with this, I can release the parking brakes, because if the parking brakes are engaged, the plane will not move, obviously. So, and let's jump out of the cockpit and let's see the pushback card. You can see It's there. Pushback is kind of tricky over here because we have to be aligned with this, because runway 25 left is over here. We have to taxi all the way from this side and just have to take off from runway 25 left from this side. So I have to be aligned with this line. So I'll just try if I can manage to be aligned properly with this line. So I have to ask the pushback tug to steer me to the right, because if the plane will steer to the right, my nose or the plane's nose will be in this direction, in the left side. Not my nose. Okay, so let's click this option and let's see if I am able to do it properly.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 requesting pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the right.
It's all about
Airbus
timing.
Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
And as soon as I'm aligned with the taxiway line, the yellow line, I will stop the pushback. Hopefully today it's a good pushback. Otherwise, there are some plugins available for the pushback. I don't use any plugins. I have missed it. It's actually here. So I should have been on this line. I can stop the pushback.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 requesting the end of pushback.
With this, I can
Airbus
just
Alpha
engage the
Sierra
parking
X-ray
brakes.
320 request to end pushback received.
It was a good pushback, but I should have been on this line. Anyhow, once I start the engines, then I will move and taxi and I will be on this line. So right now I've again engaged the parking brakes, because obviously I will be starting the engines, so the plane will start to move forward. So before you start the engines, just make sure the throttle is in the idle position, and that's it. So once you are sure, you have to engine mode selector, just come over here, you can see, and just move it to the right, ignition start, and then you start with the second engine. As soon as you'll start the engine, you will see numbers moving over here, the temperature and plus the N2 percentage and everything. So if I go out, you will see now the engine 2 is running. So this, in the startup procedures, you always start from the right side and then you go towards the left side. So this is basically a procedure that you use. So if you have got 4 engines, let's say if you have Airbus A380, you start with 4, 3, 2 and then 1. But in this plane you've got 2 engines, that's why it's 2 and then 1. So first you start this engine and then this one. So now as the engine 2 is getting ready, so at the moment engine 2 is stable, I will also turn on engine 1. Let's wait for it. These numbers will actually stabilize. You can see now this number is stable at 20.4, the N1 percentage, and the temperature is also stable at 526 degrees. So now I can turn on engine 2. As you can see now, the engine 2 is also running. Sorry, engine 1, not the 2. This is 2 and this is 1. And let's wait for the engine 1 to stabilize also. As soon as you will see the same numbers over here, 20.4 and 526, it means engine 1 is also stable. And that's it. Now you can move the engine mode selector to the middle. Once the engines are up, you have to disconnect the APU as I told you before, that every time when you have a second power supply, you have to turn off the previous ones as just like when we turn on the APU, we disconnected the external power. So now we have power from the engines now, so we have to disconnect the APU. So simply turn off the APU and the APU bleed. With this, you have to turn on the ground spoilers. Basically, what are ground spoilers? I'll just give you a little bit of idea about the ground spoilers. If I just go out and I'll show you over the wing. Over the wing, these are basically the ground spoilers, which are or the spoilers, which are actually to reduce the speed of the plane, which are used to do that, and they create actually additional drag. So that's why the plane speeds reduces. We engage the ground spoilers before the takeoff, because in case of rejected takeoff, you have to stop, and in this case the ground spoilers should be active. Let me just get my controller and I will just show you another thing. If I activate the spoilers right now, you will see these flaps coming up. These are actually the spoilers. So in case of rejected takeoff, these spoilers will come into this position if the ground spoilers are active. So that's why I will now close them, and I will just move here and let's go over here. Now for the flaps, I have set the flaps to position 1. The flaps actually give additional lift to the plane and also produce drag. So during the landing, you go with the full flaps landing, because they not only give additional lift but also drag. So the speed is controlled and you get additional lift during the landing. But during the takeoff, you cannot take off with full flaps, because obviously you will get a lift, but remember this thing, that drag will also be there. So during the takeoff, you need speed. You have to increase the speed. So that's why the flap position can be 1 or 2. In some cases, in some performance calculators, the flaps were set to 2 when you have got some weight, you're carrying some good number of passengers and plus carrying some good cargo, and you've got more fuel. So maybe you can take off at 2 because you need an additional lift, but remember it also creates a drag. We have to set the position of the flaps to 1, and let's move it to 1 and let's see. You can see now the slats are coming out. These are known as the slats, the forward part, this one, and these are the flaps at the back. So this is a good configuration for the takeoff. 1 flap, very less drag, but still you get the lift, and soon after the takeoff you will retract the flaps. And one more thing, this is an auto brake in case of a rejected takeoff. Once you reject the takeoff and you activate the reverse thrust, the plane stops, the ground spoilers are active, and the brakes are maximum, and the plane stops before the end of the runway. And that's it. We have set the altitude, and now I will be taking the clearance and heading towards the Dubai International Airport, but that will be covered in the next video, because in the next video I will be covering the taxi, takeoff and autopilot, and then descent management, approach, and then landing. I hope this was a useful video for you, and you will now be able to start up the plane from the cold and dark state. With this, I would just like to end my video. If you've got any questions, do ask me in the comment section. The comment section is there for you, and plus if you want to add anything to this video, more than most welcome, because in the last 4 years, trust me, I've learned a lot from you guys as well, because every time if I'm making a mistake, missing out anything, or I'm just missing a detail, you all guys always point it out, and I'm really grateful to all of you for your support. Thank you very much for staying with me. Have a nice day. Hope to see you soon.